Welcome to Bout It. For those who don't know, the man we feature today has made an incredible contribution to music, just illuminating some of his unparalleled achievements. He grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania with these guys, Ray Garland, Jimmy and Percy Heath, Philly Joe Jones, and John Coltrane. He played in the big bands of Tad Dameron, Dizzy Gillespie, and Lionel Hampton, legends in the game. Played with Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. Not only was he playing with them, he wrote some incredible music for that band. I'll stop there with the playing associations. If you want to know more about Benny Golson, you can go to his website. His link is in the description. If that's not enough, Benny Golson happens to be one of the most prolific composers in America. Hundreds of compositions for film, television, all kinds of ensembles. And the point here is, it's not the quantity, it's not the quality. It's the quantity of quality. Benny Golson has composed dozens of standard compositions that people play. And for those of you who don't know what a standard song is something that you call on a gig or at a jam session that everyone should know. Here are a few that come to mind. Whisper Not, Stablemates, Along Came Betty, Killer Joe. He has released over 50 albums, and as a leader, he continues to produce thoughtful and masterful music. You can also catch a cameo of Mr. Golson and his band in the film The Terminal. In this portion of our program, we like to provide you with an up-close and personal side of our featured artists. This is how it will normally work. I will provide stories, anecdotes about our featured artists. And when I don't have any, we will bring in a guest, someone close to the featured artist that will give you some insight about their personality, their musicianship, and their character. Today, we'd like to present you with master musician, pianist, and composer, Mr. Mike LeDonne.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Well, one story I think that really describes Benny Golson perfectly is when I first met him, which was at a rehearsal. I was in this rhythm section with Kenny Washington and Ron Carter, and it was an all-star band. And so we're rehearsing, and I'm just sort of trying to stay quiet, and because I'm in with all these big guys, and I'm just a young guy. And during the break, this nice gentleman comes over and just starts talking to me, and he says, "Hey, who are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm Mike LeDonne. I'm playing the piano." And he goes, "Oh, Mike LeDonne, I know you. You're a burner." And I said, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah, I have your records." I said, "Wow, who are you?" He said, "I'm Benny Golson." Can you believe that? So I was like, "You're Benny Golson? Like the guy from all the records that I have, from the jazz stuff, from Art Blakey?" Yeah, and he was just so nice and humble. And I was really taken aback by his humility and his down-to-earthness. We played the gig, we did the concert, and after the concert, he came over to me and gave me his card and said, "I'm going to remember your talent." That's all he said. I said, "Okay, thanks." A year later, I get a call. It's Benny Golson. And he said, "I told you I'd remember your talent. I want you to make a record with me on such and such a day." And he put me right on a record with him, like the next year. And then I've been with him ever since.
Can you share something about what makes him such a great improviser?
I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people overlook his playing because his writing is so overwhelmingly large. But his playing, what makes him, he's so unique. He grew up with John Coltrane, right? They were best friends. And they were both into Charlie Parker, big time, And yet, Benny kind of escaped the influence of both of those people. His influences are more like Don Byas, Lucky Thompson, this kind of different viewpoint of music that they had. So he came out with, but he's completely Benny Golson, but he came out with a real unique style that keeps changing. His first composition ever recorded was Stablemates. And from there, he the rest is history. And then his friend, I forget, maybe it was Tom McIntyre, started taking lessons with a guy who taught about how to write soundtracks for movies. And Benny went on a fluke. He just had nothing to do. And he thought, "I'll go with you." It was like a group lesson. And he took the first lesson and it intrigued him. So he just kept going. And he got totally intrigued by writing soundtracks for movies. And that's what he wanted to do. And he and his wife told me this story so many times. Bobby moved, packed up, went to LA, And they were told, in order to get in to this scene here, you don't just come out here and say, hi, I'm Benny Golson, hand out the card. You have to have the house with the driveway, with the pool, with the car, and act like you don't need anybody or anything. So that's what they did. They spent all their money living on nothing because he had no gigs, and he was trying not to take jobs where he just arranged, because he was getting calls for arranging, but he knew if he only arranged, he wouldn't be called as a composer. And they were having parties at their house and throwing social events and acting like they were millionaires.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, and then they just kept doing that. They were down to their last $200 in the bank. And they thought, okay, we're gonna have to scrap this probably. And then he got his first call for a movie soundtrack, and then he just caught on after that.
That's just so loud.
And he's the sweetest man on the planet, you know, the most first class human being I've ever known. I don't think I'll ever know anyone like Benny Golson. Again, he's like from another time period where people had elegance and were eloquent and prided themselves in their humility.
This is why Benny Golson's Bout It. At the end of this season's Bout It, the featured artists will vote amongst themselves on who they think is Bout It. The winner will receive a cash prize and a Sirius Award. We are asking for your support to fund this campaign. The proceeds will only go to these legendary musicians. Let's lift up those who are really Bout It.